Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check.
afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
And I was a little early, so I got all my work done. Yeah.
So it's time to go. You're gonna be ready to roll.
Yeah. Are we ready to start? Call this meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Collier.
Here.
Mr. Granger. Sister Julia.
Here.
Dr. Moore.
Here.
Miss Sellers.
Here. Move for motion for adoption of the agenda with the discretion to take agenda items out of order.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Moved in second. Roll call.
Mr. Collier.
Yes.
Mr. Granger.
Yes.
Sister Julia.
Yes.
Dr. Moore.
Yes.
Miss Sellers.
Yes. Public comment. I don't see anyone here.
No.
Anyone? Okay. Recognitions.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Kaufman.
Okay, I know Sydney's gonna run to the mic real quick. I love the billboards on the highway. They are so
Yeah.
catchy.
Yeah.
And they do, to me, they say a lot. Rather than just a billboard, teachers want it, it's a catchy statement.
They good look.
So
And they're
whoever is
legible.
Responsible.
So oftentimes they aren't legible. They're legible.
Yeah.
Because
Yes,
when you're
they
driving,
are.
some people
Yes.
are not conscious. The print is so small, you can't capture it, but you can, it's legible.
Well, thank you for that
Sydney gets the
feedback.
credit for that sheet.
Well, there's a team of us, so, but thank you very much. I will pass that back. Yes.
It
Thank
caught my eye when I first seen the first one. I said, wow, that's nice. And you can read it real quick as you going by.
That's what's supposed to happen.
Thank you again. So I do have 3 recognitions to share with you this month. First of all, congratulations to Wynetta Dobson, a 9-year-old student at Avon Elementary School for her outstanding art. She was selected as a runner-up in the grades 3 through 5 division in the 2022 Survival Through Self-Expression Art Contest, hosted in partnership with the Illinois State Board of Education. So this was a statewide competition. And her artwork featuring a butterfly was on display from February 21st to March 21st in the atrium window of the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library in Springfield. So quite an honor for that young lady. Additionally, East St. Louis Senior High School senior Cody Powell received a 3rd place medal at the IHSA Wrestling Sectionals. Traveled to the University of Illinois on February 16th to compete in the Wrestling State Championship, where he did win his first match. So we congratulate Cody as well as Coach Jason Basso and Coach Dowdy for their hard work in this competition. And the East St. Louis Flyers basketball team earned the title as the 21-22 sectional champions. And the team did advance to the IHSA Class 3A Elite 8 in the state for super sectional game. We are very proud of Coach Chambers and the entire Flyers team for their hard work and tenacity. Congratulations to all the players and coaches for a strong season. Any questions about recognitions?
No.
With permission, I'm going to go ahead then and speak about the Superintendent Student Advisory Council meetings.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
I'm going to speak about the Superintendent Student Advisory Council meetings.
Okay.
We had 3 sessions in March, so it has been a busy month, and we will have 3 more next month in April. So those meetings included time with the high school Student Advisory Council, as well as councils at each of our 2 middle schools, Lincoln and Mason Clark. These are always a wealth of information that come back directly from the students and feedback about how improvements can be made at their campus level. So the topics that we covered this month that again were raised by the students included anything from food service, transitions, how to improve transitional work between like 8th grade to high school, social emotional learning, and culture and climate. We also did have some guest visitors who got to hear directly from the students, and that included Chartwells, our food service provider that heard directly about some of the concerns from students at the high school, as well as Dr. Golson, who was present for one of those meetings with high school students to hear about social emotional learning and improvements. So it was very rich information, and of course, information is being shared back as relevant to other directors and staff so that improvements can be made.
Thank you.
Right.
Cindy,
I got a question.
Yes.
Our kids report back to us that there's a lot of fighting, both at the senior high and the junior highs. Did they discuss that?
It has been part of the conversations and some even strategies on how they think that improvements can be made based on that. I know that's an effort that Ms. Garrett and the team is also working at. Building administrators are keenly involved with those conversations, as well as the security staff. Yeah.
Cindy, excuse me, would you repeat that question, Sister Julia? I didn't hear her question.
Sure. She was wondering about if the students brought up any feedback about fighting that is occurring at the campus level. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Now, whoever goes to that mug, I don't have my hearing aids on today, and I can just barely hear Sydney.
Okay.
And although they don't help a whole lot, they do better than nothing. But I apologize. So I may have to ask you to speak. Superintendent?
No, I don't have anything to report this month.
Okay. Buildings and grounds? Now, you know, you hate the microphone.
You gotta speak up, Joe.
Can you hear me all right? Is that-
Go loud.
Okay.
Just go loud.
Okay, I'll go loud. And I'll be very brief also. This is the report for the month of February that we're discussing now, and we had a lot of inclement weather days in February. So February was spent on making sure that our walkways and lots and everything were clear. A lot of the days were spent on that. But Buildings and Grounds did also handle a lot of work tickets. So you probably notice your report has changed on the way it's presented. We're fully utilizing the school dude maintenance management system now. So the guys are assigned tickets and everything it's fully implemented, and we have real lifetime data daily. They go in and update the tickets so we can get the information back as quickly as possible. So that report is reflective as of that day whenever it's printed off. So we've closed a lot of tickets. They mostly centered around electrical issues in our buildings. We've completed the lighting projects in the buildings. And we've noticed that there's now it's electrical issues if the lights are out, not just burnt out bulbs. So we have to replace ballasts and things like that in the locations where there's poor lighting. Also on the plumbing issues. So our two main things right now are the plumbing and electrical, aside from the ongoing HVAC issues that hopefully we are working with the construction managers on that major project to start getting those addressed. But we have to keep the buildings cool or heated. So those are ongoing to make sure during the planning phase of this, we still got to keep the climate controlled in the building. So that's really all I had. Were there any questions regarding building grounds matters?
I have a question about, and maybe it's just, you're not the appropriate person, but the Abating school involvement with Sinclair County?
Yes, that should be on, I think it's on the agenda. Yeah, we're gonna, was given to the inappropriate entity. So it's being transferred to the appropriate county entity so that they can tear the building down for us. Yeah, at first it was given to the county board, but it had to be given to the county trust.
The trustee.
Trustee, yeah. So I think it's on the agenda. I know it was on, to transfer it over to the county trustee, and then they're gonna tear the building down.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's in the information in my part of the agenda
Yeah.
where it says informational. It details how Garrett changed the name of the entity that actually receives the property. So rather than Sinclair County, it's the Sinclair County trustee for the taxing districts. So we've got that taken care of. And after the signatures are made today, then I'll transfer it to them. It doesn't require a new resolution. It just requires us to have the correct name.
Language. Yeah.
That's Lincoln?
No, that's.
That's attics.
Was that tax?
Yes. And we'll more than likely be coming back to you guys next month about Lincoln, because the gentleman that agreed to purchase it for 10,000, now he wants us to reduce the price 5,000, and of course we can't do that. And we're hoping that this trust will take Lincoln
Trust.
Yeah,
if there's money available for that. If not, then we'll have to put it back up for sale
You know,
if it can't be transferred.
It's such an expensive effort because of asbestos.
Correct.
And it is an extremely costly venture to
Yes.
take down the school.
Uh-huh.
And now that so much has happened or not happened in Lincoln, it's just, it should have been a long time. Actually, the Capital Development Board, they should have let them tear it down, but
Yeah.
hindsight is 2020, but it's just so expensive.
Yeah.
And ATUX is gonna be a big ticket item
Yes.
because of asbestos as well.
Correct.
So I don't know what the fund level is. I don't know what the level of money is available in that fund. But
Yeah.
it's gonna be very costly.
Exactly.
there more than one, I'm sorry,
Go on, no, that's all right.
were there more than one bid for that Lincoln?
I don't. think
No,
there
that was
were.
the only
I think it was the
one.
only bid. He, the minimum price, which was 10,000, and now he wants it reduced. And we can't, we can't do that. We'd have to put it back up for sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see if there are other interested parties. Our first route is to do what we're doing with ATUX. But if they don't have the funds to accept it, then we'll have to put it back out for bid, because the district doesn't really have the funds to invest in tearing it down.
It would be extremely expensive.
Yeah,
Asbestos removal would be your most biggest buy.
I think that would be a big part of it, that it has to be done before they can demolish it, is my understanding. Yeah.
And the next question then, is the housing authority not interested in
Not at all.
that land?
They've never expressed interest because of the cost of
Cost of demolition.
tearing down the school.
Demolition.
Mhm.
Yeah, they would definitely have interest in the land if the building is torn down and the land is put up for sale,
I see.
but they're not interested in investing in the tear down.
That area, that one of the issues that HUD raised is that they were landlocked. And there's no opportunity. And
There-
that does give you a marginal.
Yeah, they say they were interested if it was just the land, but they don't have the funding to tear down the facility and then build housing units.
And I mean, honestly, they have quite a bit of land now with the demolition they have
That's true.
accomplished.
Yeah.
The problem is, how do you have a mixed income community, which is what they want? How do you make it attractive? Even the Broadview Hotel, their plan there, it's like,
Mhm.
so you're gonna bring seniors in, where they go to the grocery store?
Yeah.
From my understanding, I
So
said
it's
it,
not a lot there, and I'm sorry, I'm taking the conversation.
Oh, that's okay, fine.
But
You're-
it's difficult, and take the liability that goes with that ownership of those buildings. And
Right.
nobody wants to take the liability early on, way ahead of demolition, because
Exactly.
if something happens, you're the new owner now.
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a big liability associated with ownership.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure is.
Yeah.
But if the guy can't come up with an extra $5,000 for the building, he's not gonna have the money to really do anything.
That's
with
the
it.
way we see it too. Yeah. So it's a challenge to do something with that building. We'll have to see how it goes, and if the county trustee doesn't have interest in it or the funds to tear it down, then we'll have to put it back up for sale and see what happens.
One of the things that we did was we cleaned up the area around it this
Yeah.
past fall, which helped a little bit, but it also exposed some of the broken windows and doors that have been knocked in and that kind of stuff. So it's Dr. Moore mentioned that cost in anytime you have to deal with asbestos, whether in renovation or demolition, it's extremely expensive. I think the best thing would be if the Sinclair County as trustee could find the funds to take it down.
All right.
I got one question before you move on with that. Is the building now boarded up where it won't become a safety hazard?
The first floor is boarded up. What we have discovered with the other vacant buildings is it requires weekly, if not twice weekly, maintenance staff to go there and check because for whatever reason, in the last month, we've had more destruction of the plywood and windows, doors, even things like climbing up on trees to get into courtyards and that kind of stuff. We've had a lot of those issues that our maintenance staff is really doing well in addressing those. I appreciate the way
you
that
just have
they
to
stay after
routinely
that.
Check them
Yeah,
and reboard them
it's-
because
it's-
people
yeah.
tear it down and go inside.
It's a cost factor.
People
for
live
them.
there
They
and-
live-
That's my
And there's
thing.
fires sometimes.
Yeah.
there's some
Yeah.
fires.
Yes.
They start fires to stay warm and it is.
They do a very
It is, but
nice
it's
job
not
of
boarded
keeping up
and
with
you're
it.
done. You have to-
Unfortunately, they have to keep up with it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. they do.
okay.
And they're doing a good job of checking it weekly. to
Very-
make sure, and they have had to frequently reboard it.
They're taking a lot of pride in figuring out ways to keep the vandals out. So again, I hate that they have to do it, but they are really doing a nice job with that. I'll go ahead and talk about our comparative analysis for the finance report. In our revenue, you'll notice that we have about almost $9.6 million more revenue for this current year as opposed to last year. Those areas are in the local revenue as well as the federal revenue. And of course, the federal funds for ESSER are a big impact with that. On the expense side, our salaries, benefits, purchase services, and supplies and materials are all up as well. And those expenses can also be attributed to the funding that we receive with ESSER, as well as the result of negotiations with increased salary and benefits for our staff. But don't forget that we've also been able to hire a significant number of staff with those ESSER dollars. So that's impacted that as well. We have about $8.1 million more expenses this year than last for this time period. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that you might have.
I have two little minor questions.
Okay.
On page 10 of 93, in the necessary, I think it's called necessary.
Necessary payments.
Payments, one is necessary payments and one is something else. But the revenue, first the revenue, which is page 10. Curious question, what are senior dues? It's a good revenue source.
Those are the dues that our students at the high school who are seniors pay for various
Graduation, prom,
expenses.
senior events.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they pay.
I
us
mean,
for the
that's generating more money than the basketball game. Which surprised me that the receipts were that small.
Probably.
It's one time. It's a one-time
That's
thing
just-
where basketball, you get them every month
Okay.
or whenever a sports season.
This was
is
the
in.
regional sectionals or something, or
It was just for the month that this
Yeah.
report
just
was
for,
for.
okay.
Yeah.
It's not a cumulative
It's
total.
not a cumulative, no. And senior
Shows-
dues, that's a one-time payment
That's okay.
for the whole school year.
Okay.
Shows how important those senior activities are for the students.
Yeah, I did. It
Yeah.
was a lot cheaper when I graduated. Can you tell me what our relationship is with Greenville University that we're receiving $1,000 in revenue from them? Just curious question.
Greenville,
Greenville University.
That's probably a question more for Jennifer or Keisha
or Sydney?
or Sydney, yeah.
So we do have a strong relationship with Greenville. I personally don't know what the $1,000 is for,
Okay.
but they are involved with us as we work on pathways. career opportunities for students, particularly with education. A lot of their undergrads come and do community service back within the East St. Louis community and within our schools in particular. So it's been a long-standing relationship that Greenville has had with the school district, but I don't know about the $1,000.
Okay, it was just a curious question. It's good. I'm wondering.
Yeah, there was $1,000 from Greenville. It was $1,000 for Greenville
Yes.
that HR had done some work, and in order for them to do that, they gave us $1,000. So it was a
Oh, okay.
kind of like a grant,
Professional
if you want to,
service.
yeah, professional
No,
service that they
okay.
repaid us for.
Okay, okay. And one last curious question. We have a technical curriculum, right? I think
CTE,
we
yes.
have a
Career technical
construction and
education, yes.
Plumbing, electrical, is that?
Yeah, it's
sort of
career
the-
technical
the
education.
Trades.
Yes.
Curious question. Are we ever able to use the students to make minor repairs within the schools, or does that violate a union contract or something? Just like a leaky faucet. Could they do
They-
little stuff like that?
They don't do that kind of stuff. Our union, that we'd be violating
That's what I
the
figured.
union contract.
But it would be great
Yeah.
experience for them if the union
Yeah.
would make an exception. It's not like they could replace the union, but they could improve their skill set by maybe performing some of the minor
They
things.
can make it like, something as an apprenticeship if they was up under that.
Well,
union.
they do sometimes not work with, they don't do the work, but sometimes they observe for a learning experience, but they're not required to actually do the work. Yeah,
We
but they
might
do
wanna-
observe.
And not that it's, not that it's a requirement, but it's practical experience. It's kind of OJT, practical experience. If there could be something worked out with the union. I can't imagine the union wouldn't agree. Mr. Collier can maybe give us some points on how to make it happen, but.
Well, we could, we'll talk with our CTE director, and Jennifer, it looks like you were going to say something about that.
I was just going to add, many of our students that are in the CTE program are in a dual credit program. So they are required to hit certain marks within that course in order to gain their certification and then get their dual credit as well. We do have some opportunities, for instance, our audiovisual department, the CTE, they were able to go in and do a recruitment video for the district. We know our culinary group, they prepare meals when we
For the
contract
district.
with them.
Yes.
So we do try to provide some opportunities. I understand exactly what you're talking about, though. Keisha said to me, I remember when they used to build a house. So, things
But-
like that are very valuable. However, we've
They
really
haven't-
gone,
Yeah, worked on district, like if we need
no.
maintenance operations to certain work. That piece
Right.
has not occurred yet, but we can certainly have that discussion with the CTE director and the union to see if there's some opportunities to do that.
Possibilities.
Yes.
Yeah, because I would advocate, you said they used to build a house. We had the same relationship with an organization in Belleville. Mr. Dozier, you probably remember it. And they would build a house and we would sell the house.
We
and
did that
they would
here.
Earn money, you did
Yeah.
that.
We actually did that.
The one
here.
in,
They built a house here and they sold it to Mrs. Colsey.
Right.
And
We
she
should
lives in
do
it
that
right now.
again.
Yeah,
Right. We
yeah.
should, because there are dollars potentially available through St. Clair County's workforce investment and our
Okay.
community development program that could maybe help with it, not fund it 100%.
Mhm.
But you put enough pieces together, then you have a viable program and you put someone in a home who's in need.
Yeah, I know they built a home and they helped rehab homes also.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Our project in
Great.
Belleville was modeled after what we did here in East St. Louis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So we,
you worked with the CDC in Belleville, the
Yeah,
name of which I can't
correct.
remember right now. It was Belleville CDC or
Yeah,
something like that.
right.
But it was very viable. It was good for the students, gave them practical experience. One group, I don't know that they still exist. I think one group almost started their own little company. They couldn't do
Mhm.
everything, but they were
Mhm.
good at the things they could do. And it
Okay.
worked for them, the time that I was tracking it. I'm not tracking it anymore, so I don't know. Thank you. Thank you very
Sure.
much. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Okay,
Ms. Mandy, do we have anyone on the phone?
I'm assuming we do. Do we have
We have
No.
Maddie
Is we here?
and
I don't know
Robert
if
Wolf
there's
both.
Is the report?
This is Robert Wolf from ESB, and I'm happy to report that I have no report.
Okay.
Are
Thank
there
you.
questions?
And as
I don't know if we have anything for
Yeah.
executive session.
the administration does not have a need for executive session. It's up to the FOP as to whether or not you guys wants to go in.
I don't see
Okay.
anything that requires executive session. Sister?
Okay.
Well, I was just sort of curious about these teachers who are being dumped.
Well, we can't go in specific teachers, but these are typically teachers who are
I didn't
not
have a
tenured.
question.
She said teachers that are being let go. This time of the year, teachers that are non-tenured, typically you have to let them go 45 days before the last day of instruction. These are non-tenured teachers that aren't performing well. And based on the results from their evaluations, and they have not been asked to return for next year. But I can't
I understand.
go into the specifics for each teacher as to why they didn't get
But
a
it's
good
because of
evaluation.
Unsatisfactory.
It's an unsatisfactory evaluation performance, yes. Yeah.
And then this TIF, I mean, I'm
It's
supposed to sign
about
off
4 or
on this
5.
thing, but we didn't pass this. The TIF extension for Fairmont City.
The TIF extension, that's a tip for Fairmont City where they're going to share 50% of the revenue in the TIF districts with all the taxing bodies. And that's what's on the agenda. The board approved it, and now I guess it's before the FOP.
So they didn't come out and explain what they're doing or what their purpose is for the TIF or anything?
I don't think it was, the board didn't require it. Typically, if we get 50% of it, it was determined that it is an area, the board agreed that it was an area that needed growth and hoped that the TIF would enhance the opportunity for growth to occur. But if the FOP is not comfortable proving it without a presentation from them, then certainly it can be tabled. And we could bring them back in for a presentation. The board did not require that. I don't know if Garrett's on the line.
Yes, I am. And Superintendent Culver, you're correct that the proposal is a declared surplus of 50% that would go back pro rata to the taxing districts. And it's my understanding the other taxing districts have approved this. We only go into part of the TIF because a bunch of Fairmont City was detached a couple decades ago, but it does overlap somewhat with District 189. That's why the request was made, and they're trying to get it done in this legislative session.
And I think it's a small section. I don't have that memorized. Garrett, you may know more about the area, but my understanding is that it's not a lot.
That's correct.
Within our taxing body.
I have a big allergy to TIF districts,
Yes.
but anyway,
When we looked at it, we thought that it was an area that qualified based on the fact that it's underdeveloped. And TIFs are supposed to enhance the development. And typically,
is the key word here.
well,
Opposed.
yeah, but they can't guarantee it though. They know that without the TIF, it hasn't been developing. So having that as a incentive for developers typically helps, but it doesn't guarantee. You're right there. But at least they're willing to share 50% of the surplus in that TIF revenue, in that TIF district, if it does materialize where there is revenue that's generated.
Sister Julia, Superintendent Culver, if I may, I would argue that there are excessive TIF districts in East St. Louis. And what it does, it just sort of shifts dollars that could otherwise go to the taxing districts, and then you have to work a way to try to recapture it. But I mean, the entire city was a TIF almost at one
Right,
point, and I think
right.
some have been reduced. It obviously isn't a district decision, it's a city decision, and maybe a letter can be sent. There should be some rethinking of these TIF districts, but of course, it's out of the hands of the district, in the hands of the city, but it has not been a profitable venture,
No.
having those TIF districts. It's really taken money away, as you know, from the school district and other taxing districts that could use those revenues.
This one is a small amount of area for East St. Louis, but it's up to the FOP. Certainly, you can vote it up or down. The administration would recommend that it's approved because it's area that has not developed. And just like a lot of East St. Louis, you say, what's the purpose of a TIF? Is to take underdeveloped areas and try to enhance developers to want to reinvest in those areas. And the reason you see a lot of TIFs in East St. Louis is because when you look at the business and industry and the underdevelopment of a lot of the land in East St. Louis, you have to, a lot of times when you see land that's been blighted like this is, then you have, most cities and taxing bodies will agree to add an incentive to developers for them to want to invest in these areas.
The problem is they've had these TIFs for years and there's no improvement.
But the other issue is that if you don't have the TIF, do you think that that's going to generate development? And I would argue that it's not going to. So, but the TIF doesn't guarantee anything, but at least it gives them incentive.
So
If you don't have the TIF and you tax them at 100%, then I don't see that not having a TIF is going to spur development either. So I think the city and the taxing bodies are doing the best that they can to try to enhance the likelihood development can occur.
Do we educate the children who live in Fairmont City in this district?
Small number. Some of those kids were, before I got here, some of you guys might remember, but they were I'm looking for the word. They were
detached.
They were detached and went to Collinsville. So we have a small number of kids there, but the majority of them were detached from the district years ago and attended the Collinsville School District. That's one of the reasons why the portion of this TIF for East St. Louis is just a small area. It affects Collinsville more than it does us, actually. But it's up to the board as to whether or not it wants to support the TIF or.
I don't have an aversion to voting. I just think there should be a bit more structure. They should have designated areas of development, just not every place, there should be some. That's because we don't have a plan. There's no planning department and we don't have a formal plan that could guide development,
And then unfortunately,
There
that's.
are issues, but it's beyond this.
It's beyond the
to do
school
anything
district.
about
That's,
that.
now you're talking about the city.
The
And that's
city
the
issue.
the city's responsibility,
Right,
yes.
it's
Yeah.
city issues,
Yeah.
but we suffer because of the decisions.
Of course.
that they make.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is, let's just call it what it is, because of the crime rate and the high taxes, that makes it difficult because people are worried about health and safety and also concerned about paying high taxes. I think those two things definitely impede growth
Absolutely.
in this city.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, not
I
only
mean,
that, the
that's
city has to
facts.
learn to give better incentives to bring companies or retail or commercial groups in. We don't offer them enough incentives to make them want to come here.
Right.
They have came, but the conversation
Yeah.
led them away.
And that's what the TIF is supposed to do, give them an incentive.
Incentives.
But they look at, can they get a workforce? What are the taxes going to be?
Yeah.
And the safety. They look at all of that and, those, unfortunately, those things, those factors don't,
Right.
fare out too well for the city to bring in more business and industry.
And it's unfortunate.
And even they look at housing too. I mean, if they could get a workforce, is there affordable, safe, middle-class housing for their workforce? So all of that is looked at, and it's not an easy challenge for the city. I'm not saying it's easy, but yeah.
Well, it's, it's the typical things. It's why people don't live in this city, living on
Right.
places.
Exactly.
Safety, education, services.
Yeah.
Those are the things.
Access.
Those are the things they look at.
Taxes.
Tax
Yeah.
rate, although some of the flow outside to any place in the county, particularly in your O'Fallon's, Wascudas, Shiloh's, and Swansea's are now being impacted by the veteran exemption, which is really hitting those communities very hard. And they're trying to work their way out of that. That's a big hit to a lot of the school districts that some FOP to, but they're being hit as well
Right.
Okay.
because of Scott Air Force Base
All right.
All right.
issue.
Okay, thank you. Is Mandy here, or is Mandy on the phone, or who do we have on the line?
Maddie's here. Can
Matt.
everyone hear me okay?
She said, can you hear her okay?
Yes.
We hear you, Mandy. Yes.
Okay. We'll need a motion for approval of agenda item 13A, the approval of the regular session meeting minutes of February 28th, 2022.
More moves.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Collier.
Yes.
Mr. Granger.
Yes.
Sister Julia.
Yes.
Dr. Moore.
Yes.
Ms. Settles.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 15, motion for approval of the consent agenda items 15A through 15E.
Make a motion. Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Collier.
Yes.
Mr. Granger.
Yes.
Sister Julia.
Yes.
Dr. Moore.
Yes.
Ms. Settles.
Yes.
Motion carries. Motion for approval of agenda item 16A, approval of the personnel report addendums and contracts approved by the Board of Education on March 22nd, 2022.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Collier.
Yes.
Mr. Granger.
Yes.
Sister Julia.
Yes.
Dr. Moore.
Yes.
Ms. Settles.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 16B, motion for approval of the curriculum action items 7A list and addendums. Approximate cost $2,122,634.
So move. I second. Excuse me.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Collier.
Yes.
Mr. Granger.
Yes.
Sister Julia.
Yes.
Dr. Moore.
Yes.
Ms. Settles.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 16C, motion for approval to bid for copy paper and pest control services for the 2022-23 school year.
More moves.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Collier.
Yes.
Mr. Granger.
Yes.
Sister Julia.
Yes.
Dr. Moore.
Yes.
Ms. Settles.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 16D, motion for approval to extend the contracts for JED Transportation, New Systems, Brinks, Illinois Central, GFI, Barcom, Cone Omnia Partners, Aspen Waste, Jethro Lawn Care, and Office Depot as of March 15th, 22, Omnia Partners for the 2022-23 school year.
More seconds.
Is there any discussion?
Oh, I have a question. These contracts are just being extended. They're not being rebid.
Jeff, do you want to answer that or do you want me to?
Can you repeat the question?
Are the contracts being extended or rebidded?
They are all being extended because they're multi-year contracts, so we're recommending.
What's the
2023?
length of the multi-year?
This is just for next year,
It's just for 1 year.
next school year. And the reason we're doing that is the experience is bidding stuff out right now. You're gonna pay a lot more than what you've been paying because of the cost of everything from materials and supplies to drivers to pay. I mean, everything is gas.
So the
So if you,
cost is just what it's been? There's no increase?
Yes.
There's no increase in the cost from last year?
it's,
Would be is if we purchase more. If we purchase more office supplies from Office Depot or something like that, then that's.
yeah, if you purchase more, but it's extending the existing
But the unit
contracts.
price is hold steady.
Yeah, we're just extending an existing contract. And that's, if we rebid them out, even if these same entities
Right.
get the bid, it's gonna be more than the extension. Yeah. Yeah,
So you're extending at the same rate.
yes, and of course, if you purchase more, then you're gonna pay more, but the unit prices are the same.
Mr. Collier,
Yes.
Mr. Granger,
Yes.
Sister Julia.
Yes.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Ms. Sellers,
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 16E, motion for approval to read all resolutions by reading of heading only.
It's just to read the resolutions by heading only. If you don't, yeah, rather than reading the entire 2 or 3 page resolution, yes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
You're quick to say second.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Collier,
Yes.
Mr. Granger,
Yes.
Sister Julia.
Yes.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Ms. Sellers.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 16F, motion to approve the resolution authorizing notice of non-renewal and dismissal of certified staff.
Yeah, what this is, these are, you know how we got very nice schools here? Well, years ago, when we got the schools built, the school district agreed that instead of raising your taxes, your tax rate and making the citizens pay for the bonds, they would use their state revenue. And so we've been doing it for years, and it's just something that's done annually until the bonds are paid back. So they intercept our general state aid to pay back for the bond. The only other way to pay them back is to raise your taxes. Yeah, and we really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what this is.
We discussed
This
that
is
last
certified
meeting.
staff. Dismissal.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were,
We're on.
It's for non-renewal dismissal of certified staff.
oh, I talked about that one. Yeah, I skipped on the G. So now you know what the explanation for
Yeah,
G is. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Got that.
I was ahead of you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we just talked about. So those non-tenured, yeah.
Okay.
Non-certified staff.
Who did
Yeah.
not meet performance expectations.
Mhm.
So move.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Collier,
Yes.
Mr. Granger.
Yes.
Sister Julia. Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Ms. Sellers.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 16G,
That's
motion to,
Right.
motion to approve the resolution abating the taxes herefore levied for the year 2021 to pay debt service on 9,890,000 general obligation bonds, Series 2007, and 14,655,000 general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2008 of School District Number 189, St. Clair County, Illinois.
More moves.
I second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Mr. Collier.
Yes.
Mr. Granger.
Yes.
Sister Julia.
Yes.
Dr. Moore.
Yes.
Ms. Settles.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 16H, motion to approve the resolution consenting to extension of the Village of Fairmont City Tax Increment Financing District number 1 and number 2 redevelopment project areas.
We just talked about that.
That's what we discussed earlier, yes.
I'd agree with that. I'd make a motion.
Anyway, they have some follow-up they're doing.
We can have them come report. I'm sure that that wouldn't be a problem at all.
I would like to see that. Sister, in my
Sure.
questions, but
Yes.
second.
Matter of fact, we can see about getting someone here for the next FOP meeting to talk more about the projects, if you'd like to do that. Yeah.
I did his second though.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Collier.
Yes.
Mr. Granger.
Yes.
Sister Julia.
No.
Dr. Moore.
Yes.
Ms. Settles.
Yes.
The motion carries. Agenda item 16I, motion to approve the purchase contract with St. Clair County as trustee for acquisition of St. Clair County permanent parcel number 02-17.0-320-005.
Same sex.
Yes, that's what we just discussed earlier, Attucks.
Right.
All right.
What is it?
This is
Attucks?
Attucks.
Were we giving it to the county
Attucks.
trustees? So
I'll move.
That's right.
so they can tear it down.
Yeah.
So move. Mr. Raines, second.
Mr. Granger, second.
Yeah, Mr. Granger.
He seconded.
Yeah.
So it's ready for the roll call.
Mr. Collier.
Yes.
Mr. Granger.
Yes.
Sister Julia.
Yes.
Dr. Moore.
I'm gonna abstain from voting on that.
Ms. Settles.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 16J, motion to approve insurance request for statement of qualifications for health insurance broker services.
Oh, this with the brokers that we.
This is for our health insurance.
Yeah.
The district's been using Kenny Johnson for, before I got here, so at least 11 years, 10, 11 years. And we've had two increases of, I think, 16% 1 year and 17% increase the following year. And so we think it's just time to go out and see. We may end up back with Kenny Johnson. I did have a meeting with him and explain to him why we were bidding it out. And then the other thing that was unique about this contract is typically the health insurance broker gets paid by the insurance company. And this usually ranges from, I know in Champaign, and this was years ago, of course, the health insurance broker was getting 5%. I mean, 0.5% from the insurance broker. I mean, to the insurance broker, getting from the health, and of course, we were paying indirectly, but the district wasn't paying the broker another contract. And that's really a unique setup. And I did let Mr. Johnson know that that was certainly something that was concerning too. He understood that, and I'm sure he's going to bid again. So we'll just see if he may decide to not include that broker fee that the district pays in addition to being paid by the insurance company.
Which is
Yes.
effectively a commission, which should stand in for an additional fee to the district. a
Right.
separate fee to the district.
Right.
So when is this going up for bid after we vote?
Well, after you guys vote on it, then we're going to put the RFQ out and see which brokers and companies respond to it. Mr. Johnson said he would definitely bid again. Yeah. All right.
So move.
I second.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Collier.
Yes.
Mr. Granger.
Yes.
Sister Julia.
Yes.
Dr. Moore.
Yes.
Ms. Settles.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda item 17, is there any old business? Agenda item 18, is there any new business? The next FOP will be on a Monday, April 25th at noon. If there's nothing else, then I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Collier.
Yes.
Mr. Granger.
Yes.
Sister Julia.
Yes.
Dr. Moore.
Yes.
Ms. Settles.
Yes.
And their lunch